Лекция. Hello, student. Today, topic of lecture, the digestive system. Questions of lecture. Anatomy of liver. Anatomy of the gallbladder. Anatomy of the pancreas. Next question, anatomy of peritoneal cavity, peritoneum. The liver is the main metabolic organ, the largest digestive organ, 1,200 or 1,800 gram. It's located intraperitoneally in the right epigastrium. Is divided into two large lobes and is brown in color. Function of the liver. First, central metabolic organ and nutrient storage, glycogen, fats, amino acid, vitamins, metals. Second, detoxification and excretion function, production of plasma proteins, coagulation, oncotic pressure hormones, production of bile, formation of hormones at the endocrine gland, immune defense, and the next function, breakdown of red blood cells in the events of hemolysis, as well as formation of blood fetal period. Projection of the liver. The liver lies in intraperitoneal position and takes up the majority of right upper abdomen. The liver directly lies underneath the upper edge of the right hepatic lobe, project onto the fourth intercostal space, and the left lies somewhat deeper on the fifth rib. Because of the domed shape of the diaphragm, then anterior and posterior sides of the liver are covered in part by the pleural cavity. The lower edge of the liver is covered by costal arch up to the right mid-clavicular line. What do you see? Mid-clavicular line. What you see? You see liver. The liver. This diaphragm. Structure of the liver. The liver is divided into a large right and small left hepatic lobe, globus hepatis dexter, and at lobus hepatis sinister, that are separated anteriorly by the ligamentum falciforme hepatis. On the bottom edge of the ligamentum falciforme, which runs to the front of the abdominal wall, lies the ligamentum teres hepatis. Ligamentum teres hepatis, relic of the vena umbilicalis or vena umbilicalis. This is lobus hepatis dexter, lobus hepatis sinister. It is ligamentum falciforme hepatis and ligamentum teres hepatis. You see natural of liver of cadaver. This is hepa, liver. This is lobe. This right lobes, this is left lobes. Falciformis. Ligament of liver. This is right lobe, this is left lobe. This is diaphragm. You see stomach. It is gallbladder. Ligamentum teres. A differentiation is made between the upper side lying underneath the diaphragm, fasces diaphragmatica, and the lower side facing down towards the viscera, fasces visceralis, which anteriorly is delimited by inferior margin, margo inferior. This is margo inferior. Fasces diaphragmatica is partially fused to the diaphragm and is not covered with peritoneum viscerale. You see area nuda. In the fasces visceralis, the incision fissura ligament teretis, caused by the ligament teres hepatis continues up to the hepatic porta hepatis. This porta hepatis. This is, you see, lobus hepatis dexter, fasces diaphragmatica. This is fascia visceralis, fascia diaphragmatic, fasces visceralis. This is, you see, ligamentum falciformum. This is ligamentum coronarius, ligamentum triangulus sinistrum, dextrum. In the porta hepatis, the right and left main tributaries all the vessels and nerves of the liver mostly enter or leave in the following order. You see ductus hepatis communis, ductus hepatis communis, ductus hepatis communis, ductus hepatic communis, arteria hepatica propria, arteria hepatica propria, porta hepatis vein, vena porta hepatis, vena porta hepatis. The ligamentum venosum, remnant of the ductus venosus of fetal circulation, fetal circulation, continues the course of the ligamentum teres hepatis, in a cranial direction. Ligamentum venosum continues the course of the ligamentum teres hepatis in cranial direction. This is portal hepatis. On the right side of the portal hepatis, the vena cava inferior is located above in groove, and the gallbladder, vesica biliaris, is located below in the gallbladder fossa vesica biliaris, gallbladder and fossa bladder is a bladder fossa, gallbladder fossa. The close relation of the cava inferior and the gallbladder create an H-shaped structure whose horizontal beams represent the porta hepatis, ventral and dorsal porta hepatis. Two approximately square areas are defined on the underside of the right hepatis lobe, which are designed ventrally as lobus quadratus, lobus quadratus, and dorsally as lobus caudatus. Lobus quadratus located ventrally and located dorsally lobus caudatus. The liver is not covered by peritoneum in large areas. This is, you see, areal nuda. This is porta hepatis, gallbladder, but groove of the vena cava inferior. This is areal nuda, porta hepatis, gallbladder bed, and groove of the vena cava inferior. vena cava inferior groove of the. This is vena cava inferior. Parts and segment of the liver. The liver is divided into 8 functional segments. 3 vertically running hepatic vein divides the liver into 4 adjacent division. This is division lateralis sinistra, division medialis sinistra. This is division medialis dextra and sinistra lateralis. Division lateralis dextra. These 4 vertical divisions are divided by branches of the liver triad. Vena porta hepatis, arteria hepatica propria, ductus hepaticus communis into 8 liver segments. You see 8 liver segments. Segment 1 corresponds to the lobus caudatus. Segment 2 and 3, the anatomical left hepatic lobe. Segment 4, the division medialis sinistra, and segments 5 or 8, the rest of the anatomical right hepatic lobe, where the letters are numbered in clockwise direction. The lobus quadratus is a part of segment 4b. Subsequently, a night segment which lies between segment 8 and 1 could be described, but is so far hardly taken into account in surgery. What you see table, it is table include describe part, left part, right part, and division and segment. The liver con tissue of liver are formed the many lobes. What do you see the liver? This is normal lobular pattern of the liver. Enlarged width on the liver lobes. This is picture C. Would be B. You see central vein central vein, and you see lobula around it, connective tissue septum. It is the microscopic anatomy of the liver. You see normal lobular pattern of the liver. Enlarged view of the one liver lobule. You see central vein and triada, portal triad. You see portal anteriorly. This is portal venula and bile duct. This is from this duct and arteria and arteriole run capillaries into central vein. This is a rose indicates the direction of blood flow. This blood flow, the central vein, next this is hepatic vein. What hepatic vein? Hepatic vein open in vena cava inferior. You see hepatocytes, hepatocyte. This is blood vessels at a bile duct, green color. Topography. In vivo, the liver is malleable and adjust to the shape of surrounding organ. In fixed state, the adjacent organs leave marks, impression, which are regarded as fixation artifacts and are not significant. However, they provide information about the position of the liver. The liver has direct positional link to the following in adjacent organ. Right hepatic lobe. This is kidney, adrenal glands, duodenum, colon. Left hepatic lobe, esophagus, stomach. The liver is connected through the serous peritoneal duplicator. Above this diaphragm near the area nuda. Anteriorly with the abdominal wall and caudally with the neighboring organ. This ligament originates from mesogastrium ventral of the intestine on the fasces diaphragmatica. What you see, fasces diaphragmatica. The ligamentum falciforme. Hepatis continues cranially to the ligamentum coronarium. These surround the area nuda and runs of the right left it into ligamentum triangula as a connection to diaphragm. diaphragm. What you see, diaphragm, this connect with diaphragm. The ligamentum triangularis sinistrum runs over into the peak-shaped appendix fibrosa hepatis. Appendix fibrosa hepatis. Below the ligamentum teres hepatis, a relic of the vena umbilicalis from the fetal circulation, joins the ligamentum falciforme. Both ligaments run to the ventral wall and contain fines, this vena paraumbilicalis and lymph vessels. Lymph vessels, what you see, this connect ligamentum falciforme connect with diaphragm, what you see picture on the picture, and lymph vessels via which the liver connects to vessels and nerves of the anterior dorsal wall. The origin of a lesser omentum minus, is on the fasces visceralis, which after its attachment is divided into ligamentum hepatogastrium and ligamentum hepatoduodenale. This is omentum minus. This is or lesser omentum. Lesser omentum, what you see stomach. This is lesser omentum. In the ligamentum hepatogastricum, the parasympathetic rami hepatic run from the trunci vaginalis to the liver, and in the base the rami pylorici to the stomach. In the ligamentum hepatoduodenale, the components of the liver tract run in the following arrangement to the liver: right ductus holidocus and left arteria hepatica propria and dorsal vena porta hepatis. In addition, lymph vessels, lymph nodes, and autonomic nerves, plexus hepaticus. Under the ligamentum hepatoduodenale is the entrance to the bursa omentalis. Foramen omentale or epiploicum, foramen epiploicum, which represents a recess of the peritoneal cavity behind of the omentum minus or the stomach. This is ligamentum hepatogastrium, ligamentum hepatoduodenale. This is, you see, omental foramen, and enter into bursa omentalis. Next, gallbladder and bile duct. The gallbladder, vesica biliaris, is located intraperitoneally on the right upper abdomen, directly under the liver. There is merges into the gallbladder bed. This is, you see, fossa vesica biliaris. It's connected with liver and duodenum, duodenum via the bile duct. It's connected with the liver and duodenum via the bile duct. The bile duct. The gallbladder, the bile duct. The gallbladder is used for storage and concentration of the bile produced by the liver. The gallbladder is filled by backflow when sphincter at the opening into the duodenum is closed. Projection and topography of gallbladder. The fundus of the gallbladder overlies the lower edge of the liver and project onto the 9 rib. Here it lies immediately on abdominal wall. The fundus of the gallbladder is in contact with right flexure of the colon. The body of neck area, the area lie ventrally to the duodenum. Construction of gallbladder and extrahepatic bile duct. The gallbladder is 7 or 10 centimeter long and divided into the body of gallbladder, corpus vesicabiliaris, and fundus vesicabiliaris, and neck portion, column vesicabiliaris. It usually holds approximately 40-70 milliliter of bile. At the neck, it joins the 3-4 centimeter long extraction duct, ductus cysticus, which by means of a vault plica spiralis is closed before it merges with the main bile duct of the liver. Ductus hepaticus communis into ductus celidoce and Latin ductus colidochus, ductus biliaris. The ductus hepatis communis is formed in the porta hepatis from its right and left main stem, ductus hepaticus dextra, ductus hepaticus sinistra. At the neck there is a peritoneal duplicate to the liver in which the arteria cystica run. You see isolated gallbladder and cystic duct. The gallbladder has been opened to display the mucous membrane. This is fundus, this is corpus, this is neck, this is cystic duct, and you see common bile duct. This is photo X-ray, this AP direction. Ductus choledochus is on average 6 centimeter long and 0.409 centimeter in diameter. Ductus choledochus initially run ventrally and right of the portal vein in the ligamentum hepatoduodenale, then behind the pars superior of the duodenum to finally reach the pars descendens of the duodenum via the head of the pancreas. The confluence is located in the papilla duodeni major, which lies 8 and 10 centimeters away from the pyloric of the stomach. Pyloric on the stomach. What do you see? Pyloric on the stomach. On the dorsomedial wall in middle third of the pars descendens of the duodenum. Before the confluence, the ductus Chelidochi, mostly in 60% of cases combines with ductus pancreaticus. What you see? Ductus pancreaticus. To the ampulla, you see ampulla hepatopancreatica, The smooth muscles of the wall form muscles, musculus sphincter, ductus Holidorchi. Whose low section, the musculus sphincter, ampulla, also includes the ampulla, also includes the ampulla and their confluence together with muscular sphincter ductus pancreatici. This form a sphincter complex 3 centimeter in length. What do you see? Musculus sphincter ductus pancreaticus and musculus sphincter ductus Holidochi. Carlot's triangle. You see the ductus cysticus. You see ductus cysticus. Ductus hepaticus communis. And inferior surface of liver together form cystohepatic triangle, cystohepatic triangle, and also referred to Carlot's triangle. Its limits ductus cysticus, ductus hepaticus communis, inferior surface of the liver. In 75% of cases, the artery cystica originates in the Carlot's triangle from rami dextra of arteria hepatica propria and runs posteriorly through this triangle to reach the ductus cysticus and the neck of the gallbladder. Next question, pancreas. The pancreas is a combined exocrine 19% of organ weight and endocrine 10% of organ weight gland of the digestive system, and in living people is salmon pink in color. Function of pancreas are a formation of digestive enzymes which are predominantly emitted and inactive precursor exocrine pancreatic section, and the next function secretion of hormones for regulation of blood sugar levels, metabolism and digestion, endocrine pancreatic secretion. What do you see? Pancreas. Projection and structure of pancreas. The pancreas is a 14-20 centimeter long, mostly 16 centimeter parenchymatous organ with a lobular structure. Any average weight of approximately 70 grams. Due to its well fixed position in the retroperitoneum, and pancreas project relatively constantly in central upper abdomen on the 1-2 lumbar vertebra and is surrounded by duodenum. Then pancreas is divided into head, caput pancreatis, neck, column pancreatis, body, corpus pancreatis, and tail, cauda pancreatis. The head runs downward into a process that surrounds the artery and vena mesenterica superior. Due to its shape is referred to as hook process. It is separated from the pancreas body by notch, incisura pancreatis. To the left, head merges into the neck, which represents a narrow transition area, 2 centimeters, to the body. The body is approximately triangular. The upper, the lower edge, margines superior and inferior limit the anterior and posterior sides, whereby the anterior side is additionally divided into an upper and lower section, fasces anterior, anterior superior, anterior superior, anterior inferior, and posterior by an anterior body, margo anterior, margo posterior, which is not always clearly visible. Excretory duct system of the pancreas. The pancreas has 2 excretory ducts. Ductus pancreaticus and ductus pancreaticus accessorius. The pancreatic head is covered at the top by pars superior of the duodenum and adjoins the medial side of the pars descendens of the duodenum. Here the head is penetrated by the ductus holodochus before joining with ductus pancreaticus. What you see? Pancreaticus. pancreaticus. This is your head, neck, body, tail. Peritoneal cavity. Next question. Peritoneal cavity and peritoneum. The digestive organs and abdominal pelvic cavity all develop surrounded by peritoneum and peritoneal cavity, cavitas peritonealis. All divisions of the ventral body cavity contain slippery serous membrane. The most extensive of which the peritoneum of abdominal cavity, cavitas abdominalis. The visceral peritoneum, this is parietal peritoneum and visceral peritoneum, covers of the external surface of most digestive organ. The visceral peritoneum is continuous with the parietal peritoneum, which lines the body wall. Between visceral and parietal peritoneum is the peritoneal cavity. Slit-like potential space between digestive organs and abdominal body wall. Mesentery. A mesentery is double layer is peritoneum, a sheet of two serous membrane fused back to back and extend to the digestive organ from the body wall. Most mesenteries are dorsal mesenteries. What you see, dorsal mesenteries. Extending dorsally from the alimentary canal to the posterior abdominal wall in the superior abdomen. However, a ventral mesentery extends ventrally from the stomach and liver to the anterior abdominal wall. What you see, ventral mesentery. This is it. It is dorsal mesentery. Ventral mesentery, dorsal mesentery. Peritoneal, parietal peritoneum, visceral peritoneum. This is between peritoneal cavity. Two ventral mesenteries are the falciform ligament and the lesser omentum. The falciform ligamentum falciformum being the anterior aspect of the liver to anterior abdominal wall and diaphragm. The lesser omentum runs from the liver to the lesser curvature of the stomach and the beginning of duodenum. All remaining mesenteries are dorsal mesenteries. The greater omentum connect the greater curvature of the stomach to the posterior abdominal wall. The long coil of ileum and ileum are supported by the mesentery. The transverse mesocolon transverse mesocolon is held to the posterior abdominal wall by transverse mesocolon. The sigmoid mesocolon is mesentery that connect the sigmoid colon to the posterior pelvic wall. What you see? Mesentery, transverse mesocolon and sigmoid mesocolon. Peritoneal cavity, what you see? Peritoneal cavity contains lubricating serous fluid that is secreted by the peritoneum and allows the digestive organ to glide easily along one another and along the body wall as they move during digestion. Between peritoneum parietale and the torso wall is located an extraperitoneal space. Dorsally, extraperitoneal space is expanded to the retroperitoneum, sputum retroperitoneal, which continues caudally into the pelvic cavity in the subperitoneal space, sputum extraperitoneal. This results in different positional relationships to the organ. Тут you see viscera peritoneum, you see peritoneal cavity, this liver, stomach, this is kidney, this is located retroperitoneal, this is parietal peritoneum, parietal peritoneum, this is retroperitoneal. You see a wall of body trunk. That vein, this is outer. Intraperitoneal organs are covered on their entire surface by peritoneum viscerale, which represents the tunica serosa of the respective organ. The organ have small suspensory ligament, mesentery and ligament, and that contain the supplying vessels and nerves as peritoneal duplicata at the root peritoneum viscerale of the organ change into the peritoneum parietale of the abdominal cavity wall. Retroperitoneal organs are mostly only covered on their anterior side by the peritoneum parietale. These organs can also be created as a primary retroperitoneal organs outside of abdominal cavity, such as kidney, adrenal glands. Secondary retroperitoneal organs are only shift to the dorsal torso wall during development. These include other part of duodenum, colon ascendens, colon descendens, proximal rectum up to flexure sacralis, and pancreas. intraperitoneally, retroperitoneally location of organs, intraperitoneal organs, extraperitoneal organs, two groups. Intraperitoneal organs are located in peritoneal cavity, cavitas peritonealis, of the abdominal cavity or of the pelvis, covered from all sides with peritoneum viscerale, secured with peritoneal duplicatures at the mesentery and ligaments. Extraperitoneal organs are located outside the peritoneal cavity in the peritoneal space of the abdominal cavity, sputum retroperitoneale, or subperitoneal space of the pelvis, sputum extraperitoneale pelvis, are not or only partially covered by peritoneum parietale. Peritoneum parietale. And then abdominal cavity is subdivided by the colon transversum with its mesocolon transversum into the upper and lower abdomen. The upper abdomen is occupied to the right by liver and gallbladder, and to the left by stomach, which continues in the part superior of the duodenum. Behind the stomach is the spleen and pancreas in the retroperitoneum. Between liver and stomach, duodenum, with the duodenum extends the omentum minus is a frontal peritoneal duplication. Lower abdomen contains the other section of the small and large intestines and is overlaid to the front by the large omentum majus that originate on the stomach in addition to the various sections of duodenum and large intestine, is also located in the retroperitoneum. Peritoneum are the kidneys and adrenal gland. Omentum majus is a apron-shaped peritoneal duplicatum with an area of approximately this 1 meter, which overlays the organ of lower abdomen. The omentum majus consists of 4 parts: ligamentum gastrocolicum, ligamentum gastrosplenicum, ligamentum gastrophrenicum, and apron-shaped section. The most important peritoneal duplicatum is the ligamentum gastrocolicum. Ligamentum gastrocolicum. Ligamentum gastrocolicum, which connect large gastrocolicum ligamentum which connects the large curvature of stomach with tenia transversus. This ligament is the origin of omentum majus, which develops dorsally in the mesogastrium and contains the supply vessels and nerves. To the left it continues in ligamentum gastrosplenicum. This is absent. Gastrosplenicum. And up into gastrophrenicum. The apron-shaped part is highly variable is in its extent and can take very different position. What you see, gastrocolic ligament, gastrocolic ligament. You see the great omentus transverse mesocolon, transverse colon. This is great omentum, omentum majus. Functions of omentum majus: secretion of absorption of peritoneal fluids, immune defense, arteriovenous anastomosis and mechanical protection, thermal insulation, thermal insulation, thermal insulation. Omentum minus. The omentum minus is a frontal peritoneal duplicator which connects the liver with stomach, and duodenum, and forms the anterior wall of bursa omentalis. Parts of omentum minus are ligamentum hepatogastrium, ligamentum gastroduodenale. Ligamentum hepatogastrium contains the vessels of nerves, making it the largest part of omentum minus. Under the ligamentum hepatoduodenalis, is the opening of bursa omentalis, foramen omentale. In the ligamentum hepatoduodenale, the liver tract runs in the following order to the liver: ductus hylodochus, right arteria hepatica propria, vena porta hepatis, lymph vessels lymphatic, nodus lymphatic, and plexus hepaticus, located under the ligamentum hepatoduodenale. Recesses of peritoneal cavity. The peritoneal duplicator, which raise up the relief of rear wall of the peritoneal cavity as fold, plica, and ligamenta, form various recessus, and that represent the bulges of peritoneal cavity. Recessus of the epigastrium. So you see bursa ommentalis is a sliding space between the stomach, pancreas, which only communicate with the abdominal cavity via the foramen ommentalis, foramen epiploica, under the ligamentum hepatoduodenale. The bursa ommentalis is divided into 4 sections. Foramen epiploica, foramen ommentalis. The entrance to the bursa ommentalis is the front by the ligamentum hepatoduodenale, above by the lobus caudatus of the liver, below by pars superior of the duodenum, and behind by vena cava inferior. Next, vestibulum. The front of the vestibulum is delimited by the omentum minus and with recessus superior. Recessus superior reaches behind the liver. Isthmus, the narrowing between the first and main space, delimited by 2 peritoneal folds. On the right side, through the plica hepatopancreatica, which is raised by artery hepatica communis, and on the left through the plica plica gastropancreatica, in which the artery gastrica sinistra runs. And the next part of bursa, main space, it lies between the stomach in front and the pancreas or parietal peritoneum of abdominal wall behind. The recessus splenicus, what do you say, recessus splenicus, and recessus inferior. Recessus, at the Latin, of lower abdomen. This compartment is divided by mesenteric root of small intestine into right and left intracolic space below the mesocolon transversum, lateral of the colon ascendens and descendens are paracolic trenches. Paracolic trenches, sulci paracoli, and below mesocolon sigmoideum of the recessus intersigmoideus. The right paracolic trench indirectly connected to the recessus subhepaticus and while of left and ligamentum phrenicocolicum represent and barrier. You see later. At the flexura duodenalis, the plica duodenalis, superior and inferior form two recessed areas. Recessus duodenalis, recessus duodenalis superior and inferior. There are few recesses at confluence of ileum into cecum, recessus iliocecalis superior, recessus iliocecalis inferior, in which the appendix vermiformis is usually raised behind cecum. What you see, recessus duodenalis superior, inferior, plica duodenalis inferior, and recessus iliocecalis superior, recessus iliocecalis inferior. In the pelvic section of peritoneal cavity, there are various recesses in front of the rectum depending on the sex. In sex and women, the space is limited anteriorly by uterus. This excavatio recto uterina, excavatio recto uterina, is the lowest point of female peritoneal cavity. Excavatio vesico uterina, excavatio vesico uterina, located in front between the bladder and uterus does not go quite as far caudally. In men, there is only one recess which reaches at the front as far as the bladder. And accordingly, now is excavatio recto vesicalis. Recto vesicalis in men. Recto vesicalis. What you see? Recto vesica. This is rectum. То есть without uterina. This is located excavatio recto vesicalis. Lection is finished. Goodbye, student. Thank you.